What if the character you loved most suddenly disappeared from your favorite show? That is exactly what happened when Ty Borden, played by Graham Wardle, left Heartland. Fans around the world were left with broken hearts and endless questions. Was it sudden? Was it planned? Or was there something hidden behind the decision? Today, we'll uncover the truth behind Graham Wardle's departure, starting from the very beginning of his journey in Heartland. When Heartland first aired back in 2007, no one knew it would grow into one of the longest-running and most beloved family dramas in television history. At the center of that success was a young actor named Graham Wardle, who took on the role of Ty Borden. His character entered the story as a troubled boy trying to escape a difficult past, but soon became much more than that. Ty was not just another character on the ranch, he was the beating heart of the series. A bridge between pain and healing. A reminder that even the most broken souls could find redemption. From the very beginning, audiences felt a deep connection with Ty. He wasn't perfect, and that was exactly what made him real. His struggles with anger, his difficult history, and his search for belonging mirrored what so many viewers felt in their own lives. As the seasons went on, Ty grew from a rebellious teen into a dependable man. One who could be trusted not only by the Bartlett Fleming family but also by millions of fans who tuned in every week. And then there was Amy. The relationship between Ty and Amy quickly became the emotional backbone of the show. Their love story was not written as a fairy tale, it was written with challenges, heartbreaks, and struggles. But through every storm, Ty and Amy's bond grew stronger. For fans, they weren't just characters, they became an inspiration. A reminder that love, when nurtured with patience and kindness, could survive anything. Many viewers didn't just watch their relationship unfold. They felt like they lived it alongside them. This emotional investment is what made Graham Wardle's presence so powerful. He wasn't just acting, he was carrying the hope, dreams, and struggles of a worldwide audience who found pieces of themselves in his story. Ty was more than a character, he was family. And Graham's natural way of blending warmth, vulnerability, and strength made Ty unforgettable. Over the years, Heartland became more than just a TV series. It became a safe place for viewers. A show they could turn to when life felt heavy. A story that reminded them of the simple beauty of family, friendship, and second chances. And at the center of that safe place was Ty Borden. Every smile, every lesson, every challenge he overcame added to the bond between Graham Wardle and the fans. This is why his exit was so shocking. For more than a decade, Graham had grown side by side with the audience. They had watched him evolve, just as he watched his fans embrace the show. So when the news broke that he was leaving, it wasn't just the loss of a character, it felt like the end of an era. People didn't just wonder what would happen to the story, they wondered why Graham would walk away from something that had defined his career and touched so many hearts. Before we explore those reasons, we must first understand what Graham himself gave to Heartland. He didn't just play Ty Borden, he gave pieces of himself to the role. His kindness, his quiet strength, and his ability to carry emotional depth made Ty believable and real. And it's this deep connection that makes his departure one of the most unforgettable moments in modern television. It happened so suddenly. One moment, Ty Borden was there, living, breathing, and sharing his life with Amy and their daughter. The next, he was gone. Viewers sat frozen in front of their screens, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. The death of Ty was not just another storyline twist, it was a gut punch that left fans reeling. For many, it felt like losing a close friend. Heartland had always been a show about family, love, and healing, but this moment carried a pain that hit differently. Social media exploded with messages of shock. Fans from around the world flooded forums, comment sections, and groups with the same question: why? Why would the creators take away one of the most beloved characters? Why would Graham Wardle walk away from the role that made him a household name? The truth is, most people never saw it coming. Sure, there were whispers here and there that the show might change, but no one expected it to happen so quickly, so brutally. In fact, the producers had kept the decision tightly under wraps. When the episode aired, it was a complete surprise, carefully written to leave a lasting impact. The moment was quiet, almost too quiet, Ty collapsing after complications from an earlier injury. There was no long farewell, no dramatic goodbye, just an ordinary day turning into an extraordinary heartbreak. That's what made it sting so much. Life doesn't always give us time to say goodbye, and neither did Heartland. And while some fans were angry at the suddenness of it all, others understood that maybe, just maybe, this was the point. The realism of Ty's exit mirrored the unpredictability of life itself. But beyond the storyline, there was the very real question of Graham Wardle's choice. For more than a decade, he had given his heart to this role. He was deeply loved by fans and respected by his castmates. Walking away from all of that wasn't just a career move, it was a life-changing decision. And that is why his exit became more than a piece of television history. It became a mystery that people wanted to solve. Some viewers admitted they stopped watching the show after Ty's death. To them, Heartland without Ty felt empty, incomplete. Others stayed, determined to honor Graham's legacy by supporting the story he helped build. But no matter what side fans stood on, the effect was the same. The departure left a wound that could never fully heal, and maybe that's the true power of Ty Borden's exit. It wasn't just another TV goodbye, it was an unforgettable moment that reminded us all how much a single character, a single actor, can mean to people. Heartland would go on, but something fundamental had changed forever. Still, the big question lingered like a shadow. Why did Graham Wardle choose this path? Why did he close the chapter on Ty Borden when the story seemed far from finished? When the shock began to settle, fans wanted answers. Why would Graham Wardle, the man who had become the soul of Heartland, choose to leave it all behind? For weeks, theories spread online. Some believed there was a secret conflict behind the scenes. Others thought he might have been forced out. But eventually, Graham himself spoke, and what he revealed was not filled with drama or scandal. It was something far more personal. In interviews and on his podcast, Graham explained that the choice was his. He had not been pushed away, and there was no bad blood with the cast or crew. Instead, it was about growth. After spending more than a decade living inside Ty Borden's world, Graham felt it was time to step into his own. He said he wanted to listen to his inner voice, a voice that told him there was more he was meant to explore beyond the borders of Heartland Ranch. He described the decision as both painful and freeing. Painful because he loved the fans and the family he had built on set. Freeing because it opened the door to new adventures, new projects, and a deeper personal journey. Graham admitted that staying might have been easier, but easier isn't always better. He wanted to challenge himself, to walk into the unknown with courage, just as Ty himself often did. For him, leaving Heartland was not about abandoning the show. It was about honoring himself. He talked about wanting to explore creative work that reflected his own growth as a person. His podcast, Time Has Come, became one of the first steps. In it, Graham invited guests to share their stories about change, purpose, and transformation. Through those conversations, it became clear that he wasn't just stepping away from a role, he was stepping into a whole new chapter of life. To many fans, his explanation made sense, even if it still hurt. It reminded them that actors are not just the characters they play. They are real people with dreams, fears, and paths of their own. For Graham, continuing as Ty might have meant staying safe. But leaving meant choosing truth, his truth. And as hard as it was, he trusted that decision. This honesty is what set his departure apart. It wasn't wrapped in scandal, and it wasn't a sudden betrayal of the fans. It was simply a man listening to his heart and following where it led. In that way, Graham's choice became its own kind of lesson. Just as Heartland had taught viewers about love, family, and healing, his exit taught them about courage, change, and the importance of listening to oneself. Still, even with the official reasons laid out, many couldn't help but wonder if there was more beneath the surface. Could there have been deeper struggles, silent battles, or unspoken dreams that pulled him away? In the next part, we'll peel back those layers and explore the deeper truth behind Graham Wardle's life-changing decision. On the surface, Graham Wardle's decision sounded simple, a man choosing to grow, explore, and follow his heart. But if you look closer, There's more to the story than just stepping away from a role. Behind the curtain lies a deeper truth, one that speaks not only to Graham's life but also to the struggles we all face when it comes to change. For over a decade, Heartland wasn't just a job for Graham, it was a rhythm, a routine, almost a second home. Day after day, year after year, he wore Ty Borden's boots and carried his burdens. For many, that would be a dream come true. But for Graham, that dream came with a hidden weight. Playing the same role for so long can trap an actor in a box, leaving little space to grow as an artist or as a person. And deep down, Graham knew he had to step outside that box if he wanted to truly live. There's also the quiet truth about burnout. Few fans realize how demanding long-running television can be. The long hours, the emotional investment, and the pressure to deliver season after season take a toll. Graham never framed his decision as exhaustion, but anyone who has lived in the same routine for more than a decade can understand the pull of something new. Change isn't always about leaving behind something bad, it's often about reaching for something more. Another layer to his decision was spiritual. Graham spoke openly about his desire to listen to his inner voice, to seek meaning beyond the screen. Through his podcast and public talks, it became clear that he was on a journey of self-discovery, exploring questions about life, purpose, and what it means to live authentically. For him, leaving Heartland wasn't a rejection of the show, it was a step toward aligning his life with his deeper values, and maybe this is where the real truth lies. Sometimes growth demands sacrifice. Graham could have stayed in Heartland forever. He could have continued to play Ty, to enjoy the comfort of a role loved by millions. But comfort can be dangerous. It can hold us back from discovering who we are meant to become. Graham chose the harder road, the road of uncertainty, risk, and self-trust. And in doing so, he showed fans that courage isn't always about fighting battles on screen. Sometimes courage is about walking away. For the fans, the pain of losing Ty will never fully fade. But perhaps the deeper truth behind Graham Wardle's decision is a lesson he wanted to share without words, that endings are not failures. They are beginnings in disguise. His departure wasn't just about leaving Heartland, it was about stepping into the unknown, and reminding us all that the bravest journeys often begin when we let go of what we love most. The moment Ty Borden's story ended, Heartland was never the same. It was as if the ground shifted beneath the ranch, and the world fans had known for so long cracked open. For years, Ty had been more than a character, he was the glue that held so many pieces together. His absence created a silence that no new storyline could fully erase. The writers of Heartland faced a nearly impossible challenge. How do you move forward when you've lost one of the pillars of your story? Instead of replacing Ty, they made a bold choice. They leaned into the pain. The episodes that followed did not skip past his absence, they sat with it. Amy's grief, Lindy's innocence, and the family's struggle to carry on reflected what the audience was feeling at home. Fans weren't just watching a fictional family mourn, they were mourning alongside them. This shift gave the show a heavier, more emotional tone. Heartland, once known for its comfort and warmth, now carried the weight of loss. Yet in that darkness, something unexpected happened. The series grew. By showing grief honestly, it gave fans a safe place to process their own pain. For many, the story of moving forward without Ty became deeply personal, because it mirrored the struggles of real life where people must find strength even after saying goodbye. But still, the hole Ty left behind was undeniable. Some fans admitted they couldn't keep watching. To them, Heartland without Ty felt like a song missing its melody. Others stayed, determined to support Amy, Jack, Lou, and the rest of the family as they carried his memory forward. The fanbase itself split into two camps, those who saw the show as over without Ty, and those who saw his absence as a new chapter in the family's journey. Behind the scenes, the cast also felt the shift. Graham's co-stars spoke about how hard it was to film without him. He had been part of their family for more than a decade. His departure wasn't just the end of a character, it was the loss of a friend they had laughed, cried, and grown with. For Amber Marshall, who played Amy, the challenge was especially deep. Her on-screen partner was gone, and with him, the love story that had carried the show's heart. Yet she honored his decision, supporting him publicly and encouraging fans to understand that Graham's choice came from a place of truth. Even today, the ripples of his departure continue. Storylines had to be rewritten. New characters had to step in to fill space, though never as replacements. Heartland had to reinvent itself, shifting focus onto Amy's resilience, Jack's wisdom, and the younger generation's growth. And while the show proved it could survive without Ty, it could never escape his shadow. Every scene without him was a reminder of the man who once stood there. The impact of Graham Wardle's exit is proof of how powerful one actor can be. He didn't just leave a show, he left a legacy. His presence shaped Heartland into what it became, and his absence shaped what it would become after. And in that way, Graham continues to live in every frame of Heartland because even though Ty is gone, the truth is, his spirit never really left. When Graham Wardle walked away from Heartland, he didn't just close a door, he stepped into a wide-open field of unknown possibilities. For many actors, leaving a hit show can feel like the end of a career. But for Graham, it was the start of something far more personal. Life after Heartland was not about chasing fame, but about chasing truth. One of the first signs of this new chapter was his podcast, Time Has Come. The title itself felt like a message not just to his listeners, but to himself. Each episode explored themes of change, purpose, and transformation. Through heartfelt conversations with guests from all walks of life, Graham revealed the questions that guided his own journey. What does it mean to grow? How do we step into the unknown? And why do we fear endings when they often lead to beginnings? The podcast wasn't polished Hollywood entertainment, it was raw, real, and deeply human. Fans who tuned in quickly realized that Graham wasn't running away from Heartland. He was running towards something bigger. His voice carried the same warmth and honesty they had loved in Ty Borden, but now it wasn't tied to a script. It was his truth, spoken freely. Beyond the podcast, Graham embraced a quieter, more reflective life. He explored spiritual paths, shared messages of encouragement, and often spoke about listening to one's inner calling. He took time to connect with nature, to write, and to simply live. For someone who had spent over a decade in the spotlight, this was a bold shift, a reminder that fulfillment isn't always found in front of cameras, but sometimes in the silence away from them. Fans, of course, followed his journey closely. Many admired his courage to step away from comfort and success to pursue something so uncertain. Others struggled, still wishing he would return to the ranch. But slowly, more and more people began to understand. Graham's story wasn't about abandoning what he had built, but about living authentically. His life after Heartland became a living example of what it means to take risks in the pursuit of purpose. And while he may no longer wear Ty's boots or stand in front of the familiar Heartland barn, Graham Wardle has not disappeared. Instead, he has transformed. His projects, his reflections, and his willingness to be vulnerable with fans prove that he is still telling stories, just in a different way. Stories not of fictional characters, but of real human journeys, his own included. For many, Graham's path after Heartland has become just as inspiring as his time on the show, because it reminds us all of something simple yet profound, that life is not about staying where it's safe. It's about having the courage to step into the unknown, trusting that something meaningful waits on the other side. When we look back at the story of Graham Wardle and his time on Heartland, it's easy to focus on the ending, the heartbreak of losing Ty, the shock of his departure, the silence he left behind. But maybe the real story isn't about what we lost. Maybe it's about what we gained. For 14 years, Graham gave his heart to a character who taught millions of viewers about loyalty, love, and resilience. Ty Borden was more than a role, he was a mirror reflecting the struggles and triumphs of everyday people. And through that reflection, fans found hope. They found courage. They found a reason to believe that even the most broken beginnings can lead to beautiful endings. But Graham's departure reminds us of something even deeper. Life itself is full of seasons. Some seasons bring growth, others bring loss, and some require us to let go, even when we don't want to. Ty's story ended, but Graham's story continues just as our own lives do when we say goodbye to the people, places, or moments we love most, his choice to leave Heartland was not just about walking away. It was about stepping forward. Forward into the unknown. Forward into growth. Forward into a truth that only he could define for himself. And in that decision, Graham gave us one final lesson through Ty, that courage isn't only found in riding horses or fighting battles, it's found in trusting yourself enough to start over. SOS. Ty Borden is gone, and the ache of that absence may never fully disappear. But his legacy and Graham's live on. They live on in the memories fans hold close. They live on in the episodes that still inspire. And they live on in the courage Graham showed by choosing authenticity over comfort. In the end, the truth behind Graham Wardle leaving Heartland isn't just a story about an actor or a character. It's a story about all of us. About change, about endings, and about the bravery it takes to follow a path no one else can see. And maybe that's why his decision hurts so much, because it forced us to face a truth we often avoid.